COVID lifts, I do a podcast called The Recovery Playbook. And I interview sober entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I think that you qualify in both those things.
So far today, I'm sober, and I think I can spell entrepreneur. I learned how to spell it.
I talk fast. I walk fast. I think fast. I part of the gifts of sobriety has been slow briety.
Are those rockets on your wall there? No, those are surfboards. Oh, yeah.
The gift of COVID, it forced me to slow down.
I started going on more walks, and I discovered that there's a lot of other ways to be physically fit rather than punishing yourself at the gym for an hour,
But you have to understand, we're going to run everything through a Corona filter and create more space, more understanding, less judgment.
Thrown every last thing that I knew and had control of completely out the window.
Growth only happens when pain shows up.
Yeah.
Hi there, and welcome to the recovery crew here at Deep Waters. I'm Dr. Bob Beare, the recovery and trauma guy, and we are welcoming back Gregg Champion to the show. This week, he's going to explore the gifts and the struggles that he's experienced and been able to share with his clients about this wonderful Corona COVID pandemic challenge that we've all been through. So we're going to have a lively discussion about that. And you're on the Deep Waters Recovery Network and programs. Our next big event coming up is at the end of March 2021, the Experiential Facilitators Training. You can also get certified as an experiential facilitator. It's in the same realm as the Deep Waters Intensives that we produce. These are opportunities for people to dive in deep to into their unresolved trauma and come out with a lot more authenticity and life force juice, energy. So that's what we're up to here at Deep Waters: recover, heal, and launch into a life of that's genuine for you. All right, glad you're here today. You're in the Deep Waters now.
All right, there is Brittany, our co-host. Hi, Brittany.
Hello, how's it going?
All is well here. And there is Gregg Champion, our returning champion, who's had to deal with having a last name champion and has done pretty good with it, actually. So glad you're here.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. Good to be back. And I really I had such a great time last time, and I really look forward to our topic today, and I'll let you set that up, because I think that, we are trying to help people in recovery, but in this last 11 months, it's a new form of recovery.
It is. And I wanted to talk about this on the podcast. So thank you for poking around at that. Mm-hmm. So just so folks know who this guy is, he's Gregg Champion's a branding expert, career coach, interventionist, TEDx speaker in recovery, with the real deal sort of recovery for a lot of years, 25 at this point, and developed a lot of programs for a lot of different programs, a lot of different treatment centers and other entities. He was the mentor in residence at USC's Lloyd Grief Center for Entrepreneurship, taught venture management at the Marshall School of Business. He's got a great family. If you didn't listen to the last podcast and you want to get your heart opened up, this is a guy that's really shown what the gifts of living authentically and having we even get to have a family and like regular normal people, Gregg. That's what I'm told. You get recovery and you get some gifts like and actually you'll see Brittany and Bob cracked wide open by listening to Gregg's story, if that would be entertaining for you. But anyway, he's also the founder of Startup Recovery, and the Recovery Playbook is something that he'll tell you later how to get to that book and get it in your hands. All right, so let me invite Nicole, our program manager, to the screen if you're there, Nicole, because I'd like to get started by just saying a little bit about what we're up to here at Deep Waters and how folks can get a hold of us.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Yeah, Deep Waters Recovery is an advanced recovery and healing experience for men and women. We have the Deep Waters Intensive, which are 3-day trauma resolution and empowerment trainings. If you would like to bring sustainable trauma resolution into the curriculum of your facility, the Deep Waters Intensive, or DWI, and integrative groups may be a good fit for your program. Dr. Beare also has a private practice and weekly men's group with limited availability. So if you would like more information about our program or this podcast, you can reach us at deepwatersrecovery.com. Or our direct number is 512-677-7847. Again, that's 512-677-7847. And you can reach us directly if you just want to shoot us an email, admin@deepwatersrecovery.com. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe to all of our social media. We post weekly blogs from our community. A blog from Gregg will be coming out after this podcast posts. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, our YouTube is The Recovery Crew. I think that's everything, Bob.
Nice. And also we do a particular kind of transformational trauma resolution that uses a lot of psychodrama and bioenergetics tools. It's a unique form of facilitation, and we do a training for that. If you want to be certified in that kind of work, we have a training on the books for the end of April here in Austin, Texas. So that's another thing. You can find more than you probably want to know on our website. So thanks, Nicole. But today on this podcast, I'm going to tee it up because this is everything that's happened over the last year, this coronavirus horror and this coronavirus opportunity, just like, being in jail, having a child that died, losing my connection with a lot of family members, losing several jobs, and I could continue the list, were absolute horrors. I mean, they were death-defying for me. I was suicidal. Yep. And look at me today. I'm living a life that I couldn't imagine that I would ever live. Some of it has to do with, and I would never choose it again. I certainly would never choose to have the species have to deal with a pandemic. Are you kidding? And there's something about the human spirit that finds some beauty in the darkness, right? It's a very Jungian concept. It's Carl Jung's, knows the tension of the opposites. When there's a real fascist political regime, you're probably going to have it balanced out with a little bit too much touchy-feely shit. I don't know. That's just one. That'll be for another podcast, though. But over this last year, we have all found our struggles. It's like brought our shadows up, both golden and dark, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Gregg wrote a beautiful blog that you can find on our website on this topic, and really the main concepts are around the physical, the emotional, and the mental opportunities and transformations that some of us have been through. So I'm going to kind of let you open it up, Gregg. Let's talk about this.
Sure. So, I would say I came up with this idea for a blog just based upon my own experience. I feel that our own experiences are the greatest tools we can teach people with. And since we are all, and this is what hit me right here, Bob, is that for the first time in all my life, and I've been on the planet 52 years, we are all going through the same thing. We are all, no matter where you are, if you're in China, you're in Mexico, you're in South Africa, we're all going through the same thing. And that really humbled me in many ways to go, okay, this is a global problem, but it's also a global solution. And what
I just got what I heard you say that before. I didn't quite know what you meant, but of course, everybody has their different, if you're in a different socioeconomic status, you're probably going through it in a different way than other people. Right. And so there are variations, and some people are having to struggle a lot more. But the fact is, how many things happen that affect the entire species? Right. That's the point, right?
That's the point I'm making. And so what happened was I was sitting there going, well, you know what? I'm just going to whittle it down to what's going on in my little ecosystem. And for me, it started off with, based upon my last episode with you guys, you probably see that I talk fast. I walk fast. I drive fast. I think fast. Part of the gifts of sobriety has been slow-briety.
Are those rockets on your wall there? No, those are
well, they're surfboards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right. Chanel surfboards. But yeah, I guess rockets, because I'm always, and so what happened was the gift of COVID is it forced me to slow down. It forced me to I don't have so many places to go. I don't have so many things to do. And I really bought into slow-briety. And yeah, sobriety is a big thing, and taking it slow, but also work slow, being with my kids slow, eating meals at home slow. So I physically tapped into slowing down. So I would just ask you, Bob and Brittany, what physically did you guys have to change when you're 2 or 3 months into and I call it my strange days of COVID.
Go ahead, Brittany.
Man, so we're just talking about physically right now, right?
Yeah, physically.
Well, let's see. My partner, who is my son's dad, got a 25% reduction in salary at the beginning of the pandemic. So we pulled our son, they shut his daycare down for a couple of weeks, but we pulled him out completely. So he was at home with us for 7 months. And it was both beautiful and difficult at the same time, physically, but I agree with you, because there was a lot of, I didn't have as much access as I had to things that I had before. I couldn't just drop him off at daycare. I couldn't just, call a sitter. And so I think that it really, one thing being in therapy that it helped me realize was I realized how hard it was for me to just slow down, as you said, and just play with him. And so in my own therapy, kind of what that equated to was, not like, I had some healing to do with my own inner child. Yeah. And so that whole inner child work, family systems work has been a huge part of my growth and my healing. And so physically, another thing too, is I realized how, being a marketer at a treatment center, a lot of times we're in the car, and then we're going to meet someone for coffee, and then we're in the car meeting for lunch. And outside of that, 1 hour of gym a day, I was pretty, what's the word I'm looking for?
Crispy?
No, it's the word. It's not, it's such an obvious word. Not stagnant. Help me out here. Sedentary.
Sedentary. Mm-hmm.
And so I went on, started going on more walks, and I discovered that there's a lot of other ways to be physically fit rather than punishing yourself at the gym for an hour, I, did more yoga, and I was able to, do more meditation, and it's stuff that I really have always been able to do, but I realized that I needed to prioritize it once the pandemic hit.
The walking thing. I'm not a walker, but people are walking by. I talk to people. I occasionally sit and smoke a cigar. That's healthy, isn't it? Anyway, I said I have a place out there where I think I smoke more cigars. No judgment. Yeah, no judgment. It's better bad. It's a better bad addiction, maybe.
Yeah, I like that. Better.
But I have had a lot of conversations with folks. Many things have shifted with this whole thing that we don't even know how it's going to affect. Good, bad, ugly. That's one thing. But for me, the physical part of this was my food addiction got back on fire. That's for sure, because I'm at home a lot more. Enough, when I get still, I want a drug, and that's what food is, a stimulant and a sedative. I've recently recommitted to my food program, Food Addicts Anonymous, which uses the 12 steps to intervene on that. I've had more trouble with abstinence on the food than any of my other programs. And that's the good news and bad news. I have experiences with most 12-step programs. So
because you can't be abstinent from food.
Yeah, that's right. It's like the lion is in the cage 3 times, right, sitting there with me, right, 3 times a day. Same thing with love, sex. These are the process addictions, right? The ones that we're still probably going to interact. We're probably still going to eat. We're probably still, you can't put the plug in the jug, as we used to say. But the only other thing around the physical part of this is, and here I am, just a big white guy playing golf, right? On the surface of that, it's like, yeah. For me, I'm doing that to myself. But actually, I have found that there's like three components to it. I don't know if I can remember it, but it's one thing is I'm in nature, right? That's one of the things I've been able to do is play golf. I don't know if that's been happening out in California or not, but for some reason, all the golf courses have been open through this whole thing. But it is getting me out in nature. And when I walk, that is it takes a while to walk a full golf course. And I'm like winded. And, there is a meditative quality to it. And I've proven that by when I find a place, when my countenance is still, my body is in a place of stillness, I play a different game. And I know for some people that rolling their eyes that who cares about him smoking cigars and playing golf. But for me, it has been, it has changed. It has changed the way that I move in the world. So it's not yoga, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, good. Those are good physical things. And so my next thing I was working on was I began to find myself, because I wasn't able to go to the gym, I wasn't able to go to my favorite restaurant. My emotional views became shorter and shorter and shorter. And I started to get, I'm going to use the word on me now, Brittany, crispy. And my partner at Startup Recovery, Jeffrey Van, pulls me aside. And he says, dude, I know you want to spill over. I know you want to act out. I know you want to force your way to do this and that. But you have to understand, we're going to run everything through a Corona filter. That was his term, Corona filter, that when someone comes to us, we've got to run those emotions through the filter and create more space, more understanding, less judgment, right? I mean, we work in recovery, so those are tools we have to have in order to work in recovery. But he was like, you really need to pile on, because we're working with people in their first 90 days of sobriety, right?
Yeah.
And when now you're being told, hey, I can't go home and I can't travel, that ends up being a whole new recovery. And so I love the term running it through a Corona filter. And that's what we did during the first, second, and third month of Corona. Around our business was, no matter who shows up at our door, we're going to be extra sensitive, extra peaceful, extra kind. And I would just encourage the listeners on the podcast to, everybody's stressed out, in their own little stresses. And so this Corona filter is what kind of the thing I put on the emotional side of what I was trying to do.
Yeah. If anybody has any control issues, I certainly don't. I don't have any control issues. I have a lot of control issues. But, most humans do. And those of us in recovery have, it's usually one of the symptoms. Yeah. This whole Corona thing has thrown every last thing that I knew and had control of completely out the window. And I don't care who you are. I don't care how much therapy you're doing or how many meetings you're going. I go to a meeting every day. I haven't done that really, except for a couple of times doing 90 and 90 over the years. But I'm doing way more recovery than I ever did, and I think it's just my system knows I need it right now, because I need to hear the message to let that very corny. All those corny sayings like let go and let, see, I can't even remember them. Let go and let God, and because when things are out of control, my first instinct is to grab it and try to control it, and that's an emotional trauma response, and I have been forced to access more support.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think for me, it's very similar to you, Bob, except I got to this point where I had to search for not other outlets instead of, but in addition to. So I picked up an old book that I've read before. I read, what's it? Not the Power of Now. I can't think today. A New Earth again. And it's funny how in the beginning of New Earth, he talks about before there is a huge shift in the world, it's going to look like a hot mess. And so it was just so parallel with the social injustice and the you know, this or that, this horrible division that we've had. And then I read another book that I wanted to read called The Untethered Soul, that our boy Drew over at TLR has most of his clients read, and it was so good. So yeah. But I also want to add too, I feel like I'm sharing really positive things that have happened. Like I also like have not a lot of them, but I had a lot of days where I really struggled because as you said, Greg, slowing down, it causes me to, you know, to face some uncomfortable feelings. But I am glad that again, that happened, because I think it was you, Bob, who said this about Gregg's experience, that, you know, things come into our lives that seem like adversities, but they're great opportunities to grow. And this was definitely one of them.
But we do have to, you're right, Brittany, we do have to create spaces where the mess can be expressed, right? We, you know, because if we're going to go straight to spinning everything positive, we just bypassed the opportunity to feel the grief, right? And this year has been an opportunity to get still and feel it. But I'm not going to feel it if I don't feel like somebody's going to be able to hold space with me. And that's why I think all three of us are committed to creating spaces where it's safe enough to be broken. Right. I've done the tough guy thing long enough, man. I'm older than you, Greg. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I'm done with tough guy.
So the third part of what I came up was mentally focused. Being an owner of a business, I wear 17 different hats, you know, and when some of those hats went away, I whittled it down to seven hats, you know, and what it allowed me to do was be focused on those 7 hats. And one of the things we were able to do, and it's perfect timing, was we were able to launch the Recovery Playbook online version. And what a perfect time to launch an online course than when the whole world goes online, you know. And you know, we were able to not rush it to market, but to get it there in time. And that is a real, it's been something I've been wanting to do for 2 or 3 years. And because of COVID, it has allowed me to focus on that particular curriculum to get out in the world. And really, the other part of it is when I'm mentally focused, I become a better coach. I become a better parent. I become a better husband. And as we know, Bob, a happy wife, happy life. And so becoming a better listener, here is the magic, is all my clients, all my sponsees, my children feel valued. And if I can make people feel valued, I've done my job. And so COVID, when I'm not in COVID land, I got 7 things going on, and I call it functional ADD, you know, and because COVID has simplified my life. Have you heard the acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid? Well, this stupid guy has been keeping it real simple. And my mental capacity has been focused on being kind to people, and really listening. I think that's the secret of the business we're in, Bob, is being a good listener. And I know I was not born a good listener. Yeah. COVID has made me a much better listener. And that makes me feel better, because guess what? Empathy finally shows up. And when I'm processing empathy as a caregiver, I know that I'm doing my job from a spiritual point of view.
Yeah. That, you know, mental focus isn't a term that I use very much, but you got me kind of scratching my head on that one. I think it correlates to emotional well-being. Because when I'm cooking emotionally, I'm trying to mitigate it with my squirrel cage or whatever that thing is. You know what I mean?
Your monkey brain.
The monkey brain, right? So for me, it really, the last thing on my list of the tools that are required for recovery is prayer and meditation. Last thing I want to do. And I have to keep it at the top. And because it's a trick to get me out. All yoga and meditation is a trick to get me out of this squirrel cage thing that's happening up here. And if I can focus on my breath, it's just practice, because I have a lot of practice thinking about a bunch of shit. Plenty. I have a really advanced practice at that, and it takes practice to get still, and then the thoughts that might come through this brain, I might have a chance that they're somewhat clear. There's one other thing I just want to add here. One thing that I enjoy more than anything is humor. I think I've decided, I got a buddy that was on here that you would like, a guy named Steve Eckelman. He's a California guy too, but he says he is committed to enjoying what he enjoys. That's what he's going to do in this lifetime from now on. Think about that. Let me see what I enjoy and let me try to enjoy it a little more. I know it sounds we're not going to save the world with that mission, but maybe. Maybe we could teach that to others. Do what feels right to you. And humor is one of them. So I would like to say that Larry David is one of my heroes. I'd vote for him and there was a thing, something about, and there was another show where, was it a Larry David show or where little people that wear lifts, that is just, that is like a bad thing. You cannot do that. And Larry David had an episode about bald guys that wear hats. So, I mean, you might want to look into your bald guy club. And I don't know about wearing those 7 hats, Greg. You might want to, you might have just committed a very multicultural faux pas. All right. I just want to say that.
Yeah. And so I think what you tapped into in your answer, Bob, was the last part of what I talk about in the blog. And I'm so happy you guys are going to post it, is the spirituality side. I think that the physical, the mental, emotional pours into the spirituality side. And what I've been able to do is I do more breath work. I take hikes, but I'm not listening to music this time. I'm actually looking for the hawk or the rabbit, or, I'm really more present. I do more guided meditation. And really what I think we end up becoming is emotionally sober. And so you bring up this last point that I touch on in my blog about spirituality. And I do think that to Brittany's point was, there's got to be some sort of chaos right now that's going on, right, in order for us to grow. And if you think about all the times that our higher power put something on our doorstep that we thought we could not handle, but now we did, we've grown. Growth only happens when pain shows up.
Yeah.
I can go to the gym with you, Bob, but unless we pick up some weights and start using them, we ain't getting any muscles. Yeah. And so I think that this is a time to grow our spiritual muscles during this COVID-19 crisis that's going on. And I'd love to hear how Brittany's working her spiritual muscles, and I'd love to hear how you're working yours, Bob.
Yeah. So one thing too, and I just wanted to add something a little bit from the mental thing, because I think what I took from what you talked about, that was being more intentional and having a little more control of my mind. Mindful and intentional are the words I'm looking for. And when that happens, I'm able to have more of a hold on my emotional self, because when I feel an emotion, my mind always creates a story about it, whether it's real or not. And I feel like it's given me trying to be more conscious about my mental state of being has given me more space to actually pause and identify feelings. And on top of that, the spirituality piece, I touched on it a little bit before, but I've definitely done more meditating and more reading. And I think that, I don't fully know yet what my big spiritual experience was throughout the pandemic, but I think that, the longer it happens, the more I'm able to look back in hindsight and see okay, this happened for this reason. This happened for this reason.
Yep. When I think about spirituality, I never really know how to think about it, which is exactly how it should be, because it's a giant mystery that nobody knows shit about. Anybody that whenever I'm in a meeting and it's a God meeting or a humility meeting, I get a little chuckle, like we're going to explain to each other about God and humility. My dad used to say humility is the only thing you lose once you know you have it. But having said that, I'll tell you all I know about spirituality. Actually, the one thing I'll say about that is that it's a sense of being connected to all things. And as a species and as an addict and as a human being, that's not how I'm built. The human beings think we're separate. Like, just for a moment, imagine going out 100 miles from the earth and looking back. Everything there is earth, apparently, including us. But we don't think that way. We think it's all that and then us. I do. So that's why, like you said, noticing the hawk, taking a breath, and people of indigenous people of this part of the world say good sign. Moment. Right, that's a good sign.
For sure.
Yeah. And so paying attention to nature is probably the best dance I can do around the spiritual stuff. So thank you. It's not anything else on this formulation of I like this. You got another book is going to pop out of Gregg Champion.
Well, love it. Yeah, and I love that animals show up for us. And you're right. Native Americans did have a totem of when animals showed up that represents a certain sign to you. Yeah. The one that always fascinates me is the skunk. It's a little furry, cute creature, but it means respect. And if you think about it, when a skunk shows up, you definitely respect it.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So paying attention to paying attention and listening. So many gifts in what you've said here today. There's one other thing that I just would like to put out there. We're in the middle of this thing still. It's a little bit like being in the middle of like when I lost my dad 7 years ago. I'm just now, I'm in a phase of the grief process of that. And it's a lifelong process. This thing that we've gone through as a species or as a planet is going to unfold over time. We don't know shit about it. We're acting like we do. We're doing our best because we're kind of thought leaders, and that's kind of what we're supposed to do. But I'm wondering, just can we allow the grief to emerge from this process and the authentic response to this whole thing to emerge without necessarily having to figure it out? I think it's going to be a long-term process to allow this pandemic thing to work on us as a species. We're in it. It ain't over yet.
No.
And I don't think things are going to go back. I don't think it's like a rubber band. It's going to snap back to whatever we used to do. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch. So anything else, folks? Have we, I was going to say beat a dead horse, but have we gently petted this beautiful skunk back to life?
Yeah. I think we're good. I think.
Gregg, why don't you go ahead and let folks know how they can reach you, because they're going to wanna. I'll guarantee
Cool. Cool. So the best way to reach me is I'm going to give you a couple websites. First, it's startuprecovery.com, and that's regarding our transitional living here in Los Angeles. We also have startupapartments.com, which is the sober apartments. So I call it independent living with guardrails. And then if you guys want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, it's always at Gregg, 2 G's at the end, Champion. And I'm happy to give my email out as well too. So it's gregg@startuprecovery.com. And I answer emails and text, and I know that in order for me to keep it, I got to give it away. So, and I just want to say, Dr. Bob and Brittany, thank you so much for this dynamic hour. I feel very close to both of you in our recovery and being good parents, and also being ambassadors to recovery. And so I just want to, I feel a whole lot of gratitude today that we're able to get this podcast out.
Yeah,
thank you.
What a good connection. Thanks for taking the time. Now, Brittany is the business development specialist out at the Last Resort Treatment Center, which I'll just give a pitch for. That's where I know the kind of work that's going on out there. It is the real deal, Gregg. I don't know how much familiarity you have with Central Texas treatment, but the Last Resort Treatment Center is a go-to. And Brittany is one of the folks that keeps that thing rolling. So why don't you let folks know how they can reach you, Brittany?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can be reached via phone at 512-948-6403 or via email, Brittany, BRITTANY, Bass, BASS, at lastresortrecovery.com.
Yeah. And you can find both of these folks. Greg's not on there yet, but on our About Us page, all of our you guys are, Gregg, you're now part of the recovery crew, whether you wanted to be or not. So
good.
Brittany is on our website as well. Thanks for being here, both of you. Nicole, are you still with us? You must. That story probably kept you awake. Yep, there she is.
Very bad.
If you would let folks know how to reach us at Deep Waters Recovery.
Yeah, thanks, Bob and Brittany, and thank you, Gregg, for sharing your story. I loved it. I really appreciate you being here. If you'd like more information about our programs or this podcast, like Bob said, you can reach us at deepwatersrecovery.com. Our direct number is 512-677-7847. Please like, share, subscribe, and follow us in order to support this mission of recovery, healing, and launching into lives of authenticity. Dr. Beare is the recovery and trauma guy, and he sees a limited amount of individual clients, and he has ongoing group programming. The 3-day Deep Waters Intensive for professionals is scheduled for the spring 2021. If you would like to sign up for that, you can visit our website. And if you would like to bring sustainable trauma resolution into the curriculum of your facility, the Deep Waters Intensive and integration groups may be a good fit. And just one more time, 512-677-7847.
So thank you both for being here. I really appreciated your time. Thanks again, Brittany. Thanks again, Gregg. You're in the deep waters now.